Hello, welcome to this tutorial where we'll create a background using gradients and make a photo blending with the background. We'll obtain a result that will be very similar to this one, which will be perfect for using in social media. First, we'll have to choose a photo. I chose this one from Freepik's free catalog. Make your choice and open the image in Photoshop. Let's erase the background of the photo now, and we'll be doing this with the pen tool. Using a zoom scale to our taste, we'll start contouring it. If you're not too skilled with the pen tool, I recommend you to practice as much as you can because the pen tool will be a basic tool not only in Photoshop, but also in Illustrator and many other vector applications. It's preferable to get inside the shape than to grab bits of the background. When we close the path, it's convenient to review with a closer zoom if there is any part that should be readjusted. These parts, if we misplaced a point of anchor, we can correct it by holding Ctrl and clicking the point of anchor we need to move. Once we've selected it, we can drag it, remember, always holding the Control key. Once we're happy with the results, we right-click it and choose the option Make Selection. Press OK and we'll have our image selected. Now we'll refine the borders in our selection. In order to do this, we'll select the lasso tool, and when it's active, we'll have appear this Select and Mask button. We'll click it, and we'll get this window. Before we do anything, we'll make sure the view is on black and that the opacity is at 100%. This is just for us to see the preview of the selection. Let's raise both the smooth and the feather values so the selection is not too rough and the edges are smoother. If we see any part, especially in the hair zone, in which we missed something and it is not selected, or we have any part in which we can see the background, we'll apply this smart brush carefully. Okay, so once we have it ready, let's head down here, and in this option here, we're going to set it to output to a new layer and click OK. Alright, so now we have our figure ready without the background. Let's adjust now the proportions of our canvas. Since I want to use this photo in social media, I'll set it to square. Let's select the crop tool here in the left, and in this drop-down menu at the top bar, let's select for it to have a 1:1 ratio. Let's adjust the size to our taste and hit enter. It's now time to create the background. And for this, we'll hide the photo so it doesn't get in the way. Before we start getting our hands on it, we'll add to our swatches panel the colors we'll be using so it's easier for us to work. If we don't have the swatches panel out here on the right, we can look for it inside the window menu. Okay, so let's click here on the active color in order to open the color picker, and let's enter the hexadecimal code for the first color we'll be using. In my case, it will be 28, 28, 28. Let's click on the Add to Swatches button, click OK, and the color will be added to the panel. Let's repeat this operation for the other three colors we'll be using, which will be B21F1F, the FDBB2D, and 1A2A60. Perfect. Now we can finally start working on the background. Alright, so first of all, we'll select the rectangle tool and we'll click and drag to create a rectangle that will be as big as our canvas. Now let's navigate to the Properties panel of the rectangle. Remember that if you can't see it, you can find it in the window menu. On the Properties panel, I'm going to click on the Fill Color and I'm going to select the Gradient option. I click on the bar below and the Gradient Editor will pop up. Then I'll click on the little square down on the left and introduce the almost black color that we added to the Swatches panel. Here on the left, we'll use the yellow. And last, we'll add a third color, clicking in an intermediate point just below the gradient bar. When we see the mouse pointer turns into a little hand, and we'll select the red color. We'll make sure in the squares above the gradient bar that both are set to 100% opacity and hit OK. Now we'll get the Ellipse tool to draw a circle. In order to get a perfect circle, we can hold the Shift key while dragging. We'll fill the circle with the gradient too, so with the layer selected, we'll go to the Properties panel again, click the Fill button, Gradient, and click on the gradient bar. And this time on the right side of the gradient, we'll set the blue color. And on the left side, the red color. And in this case, we'll set the left color's opacity to 0% and leave the right color's opacity on 100%. Click OK. And once we have all this, we'll make the portrait visible in order to arrange the position of both the circle and the portrait using the Move tool. If you think the circle is a bit small like this one here, it's okay, because with the Move tool we can click on this checkbox here to show the transform controls. And just by dragging while holding Shift, we can make it bigger. Okay, let's adjust it. And once we have everything in place, we're going to select both background layers and press Ctrl G so we can group them in a group we can name background. Then I'll right-click on the group and convert it into a smart object. In order for it to not look that cold, I want to give it some texture. So I'll do this by adding a bit of noise. So while the smart object is selected, click Filter, Noise, Add Noise, and I keep moving the slider until I'm happy with the texture the background has acquired. Well, in my case, I think around 35% works for me, so I leave the value like this. Okay, now that we're done with the background, we'll take care of the photo. The photo, as you can see now, is not very well integrated with the background. It has completely different colors. It doesn't look like it belongs to that background. So we're going to do a series of tweaks for it to blend in with the background. And I'm going to start by creating a levels adjustment layer so we can adjust the contrast. I'm going to click this icon here so the adjustment layer only affects my image, which is the one I'm interested in modifying and not the background. Okay, so I'm going to turn the blacks up a bit, turn down the intermediate colors, and I'm going to get the whites a bit wider. Next, I'll tint the image so it matches the colors I chose for my background. I'm going to create a gradient map adjustment layer and click again this icon so it only affects the image. I'm going to click on the bar so the gradient editor pops up. And I'm going to choose here the same colors I chose for the background. This way I'll set the blue on the left, the yellow on the right, and I'll create an intermediate color to set the red and click OK. If you look closer, what I've achieved with this is that the dark parts of the photo are now tinted with blue, lighter parts are tinted with yellow, and intermediate tones are tinted with red. Nevertheless, I don't want an effect as aggressive, so I'll switch the adjustment layers blending mode to soft light and adjust its opacity until I'm happy with the result. To finish, I'm going to add a last gradient touch on top of the photo. For this, I'm going to create a new layer to which I'm going to name Overlay Gradient. Then, holding Alt, I'm going to position the mouse over the bottom edge of the layer, and when you see this icon, click on it. What we achieved by this is that whatever we draw on this layer will only be seen on the image layer and not the background. Now we'll select the gradient tool on the toolbar and we'll click on the gradient bar on the top toolbar in order to open the gradient editor. This time we'll pick blue and red. And click OK. And I'm going to apply the tool this way. As you see, it created a gradient that covers all the image, but I don't want to cover all the image, just the bottom right corner. So I'm going to create a layer mask clicking on this icon. And again, using the gradient tool, I'm going to select this time a black and white gradient which is here in the presets. Click OK. And on the layer mask, while it's selected, this is very important, I'm going to apply the gradient this way. If you notice, this time it was applied on the layer mask, and what it does is to hide the portion of overlay gradient corresponding to the parts painted black in the layer mask. If you don't get it right away, you can repeat it until you like how it looks. Okay, so once we have it, we adjust the opacity, and that's it. Now we have an excellent collage for us to use it wherever we see fit.